आजको कथा हो गुरुबथान सरकारी महाविद्यालयको। यस महाविद्यालयमा यस वर्ष भने 1 दिवसीय संगोष्ठी सम्पन्न भइरहेको छ। यस संगोष्ठी भने सधैँको र हिजोको भन्दा भिन्दै र मिठो विषयमा हुन गइरहेको छ। त्यो विषय हो वेटल्यान्डमाथि। पहाडी क्षेत्र अर्थात् संसारमा नै दलदल भूमि रहेको जति पनि क्षेत्रहरू छन्, विशेष गरेर नर्थ बेङ्गल रिजनका ती क्षेत्रहरूका वेटल्यान्डका सिग्निफिकेन्स र यसका विशेषता र यसको मूल्य महत्त्वमाथि आज यहाँ संगोष्ठी सम्पन्न भइरहेको छ। यस संगोष्ठीमा दार्जिलिङ, डुवर्स, कालिम्पोङ र विभिन्न क्षेत्रहरूबाट विज्ञ व्यक्तिहरू आएर यहाँ आफ्नो प्रपत्र प्रस्तुत गरिरहेका छन्। उनीहरूले आफ्ना प्रपत्रमा वेटल्यान्डका के विशेष महत्त्वपूर्ण कुराहरू छन्, यसलाई बचाउन, यसलाई अझ उर्वर बनाउनको निम्ति के कस्ता उपाय र पाइराहरू चाल्नुपर्ने हो भन्ने बारे आफ्नो सारगर्भित वक्तव्यहरू राख्न गइरहेको छन्। यसैले अब हेरौँ है त गुरुबथान सरकारी महाविद्यालयले आयोजन गरेको संगोष्ठीको वेटल्यान्डको कथा।
And traditional knowledge, celebrating cultural diversity. On behalf of the Gurubathan Government College family, it is my privilege to welcome you to this one-day seminar. Knowledge, clarity, and the collective pursuit of wisdom. May I respectfully invite our Honorable Officer in Charge, Dr. Pemu Chering Lepcha, along with our Chief Guest, the IQAC Coordinator Madam, the Teachers Council Secretary Sir, and our esteemed invited speakers. We now proceed to the felicitation of our esteemed guests. As a mark of our respect and gratitude, I request Sangeeta ma'am.
Senior Fellow, Ashoka Trust for Research in Ecology and Environment. Sir, we feel very privileged to have you here, and we are very eager to hear from you. I also welcome Dr. Ukkar Rai, Associate Professor, Department of Botany, St. Joseph.
On this national seminar, Wetlands and Traditional Knowledge Celebrating Cultural Heritage. It is indeed a matter of pride and privilege for our college, Gurubathan Government College, to hold this seminar that brings together scholars, experts, and young minds to deliberate on an issue that is both environmentally urgent and culturally profound. Examine wetlands from a scientific perspective, but also to acknowledge, document, and respect the wisdom.
Okay, I'll take you through this introduction to wetland significance, changing environment, case studies, and future perspective to tell the story that what is wetland, why it is important for us, those who are living in different parts of the ecosystems and world, how we can see that, what implication it has to us, and what we can do, what is the global perspective. So all these aspects I'll try to collate within next 45 minutes. Threatened species in sense, the populations are declining and it is moving towards extinction. The second criteria, it is a high population of endemic species. Endemic species means species which are found only in that area, nowhere else. The third criteria is over-extracted and 70% of the original habitat is being changed. Found in the freshwater, and they support in many ways. In some cases, no, I don't know, I think it is the Rai community who needs fish for puja. No, some kind of, if you do puja, certain puja, then you need fish. No, those kind of things are there. In Nepal, Newari community, Pradhan community, they need fish, freshwater fish for puja. So these kind of links are there. Another very important thing is, there is an increasing trend in Ramsar site. So what is Ramsar site? No, is a terminology used by multifunctionality. Means there are multiple roles played by multiple things or multiple. Velocity of environmental change or climate change. So again, the climate change is having a very interesting phenomenon that is coming up. It started with the western part of the globe and then slowly, because the high altitude area is a high region is warming faster. Another very scary situation is already 2.1 degree change happening in high altitude region, in the mountain region in general. If it goes like this forever, then it could be in different scenarios.
जस्तो तपाईको स्लाइडमा नमामि गङ्गे यो एउटा ठुलो प्रोजेक्ट्सहरु हामी थ्रु नेशनल मिडिया पनि देख्न पाउँछौँ। तर अब उहाँ सरले भने जस्तै गाउँ बस्तीतिर घरमा टाढो जग्गाहरु जहाँनिर चाहिँ रिसर्च कम्ती भएको छ। तर यस्तै एरियाज यो हिमालयन बेल्टमा जहाँनिर चाहिँ यो इकोलोजिकल सिस्टम इज भेरी भोलाटाइल, भेरी फ्रेजाइल। यहाँनिर हामीले चाहिँ धेरै मात्रामा चाहिँ कन्जर्भेसन गरेका छौँ। तर
त्यो लेकलाई अहिले हालैमा रामसार रिकग्निसन भएको छ। रेकग्निसनको ट्रेन्ड भनेको बढ्दैछ, तर त्यो चाहिँ तपाईको गभर्नमेन्ट अफ इन्डियाको हातमा छ। सो हाउ नाइसली यु rationalize, how nicely you justify that this has value. But it also depends upon the convention at the global level, Ramsar convention at the global level. How many they would like to do every year? किनभने उनीहरूले चाहिँ 1000 एप्लिकेसन आउँछ हैन, 20000 2000 आउला, 3000 आउला, 3000 लाई त गर्न सक्दैन नि त, because they also have obligations, they also have monitoring obligations, they also have financial obligations. त्यसले गर्दा स्ट्रिक्ट क्राइटेरियाले पर इयर सर्टन अमाउन्ट अफ रामसरहरू नोटिफाई गर्छ।
And I also asked him what would be the audience, and he basically said that the audience would be students. So I have prepared accordingly, and I am sure the student will benefit from this. So this presentation is basically provided with full of pictures. The Himalayan range, it was formed 40 to 50 million years back, and this is one of the most young. I mean, it is one of the youngest. The formation of the Himalayas, when it collided, that means the collision of the Himalaya brought in very close the two range. We call it the range, the oriental range, and the peri. What number of biological wealth you have? The higher the number, the more wealthier you are, right? Or the plant and animal lives. These are restricted in very small space. 25% of the original vegetation. So these 25% of the original vegetation, if it vanishes, then there is a dire consequences that many of the plant and animals, they may vanish in no time. Right? So here, so why Himalayas? So I am concentrating on the Himalayas. So I will not be entirely discussing about the Himalayan biodiversity. I will be restricting to much within Sikkim and Darjeeling. So why Himalayas? This is one of the youngest mountain. It is one of the most dynamic, and it also contains a very high amount of biological diversity. So it encompasses areas of Jammu and Kashmir to Arunachal Pradesh, and it has an exceptional level of endemic plant species. So what do you mean that the rhododendrons they have evolved in the southwest part of China, and it has started on the single national park. There are 20 species of rhododendrons which are found, and you can also see lot of variation, color variation within the same species. You can see the variation, color variation. Here it is lighter pink and it is deep red, right? And likewise the cinnaberinum, here the color is slightly yellowish red, it is red, and here different color. And the lepidotum is also having different colors. No, not to mistake these are two as two different species. They are belonging to the same species. And one very interesting eco type we call it. The ecological type is seen within the species barbatum. So here barbatum, it comes from the water barbate hairs, right? So in one ecotype you will see barbate hairs developed on the petioles, and in other ecotype the barbate hairs is totally absent. And the medicinal wealth is also very astonishing in Himalayan region. So these medicinal plants, it has played a very important role. These are also traded in the markets. These are called the draw drugs. These draw drugs, they are sold everywhere throughout the hills, not only in the hills. Much of the raw drugs, they are of high altitude origin. Okay, they are of high altitude origin. Now, why high altitude origin? Now, these high altitude which are being traditionally used. They are not only being used by local people, they are also being traded in the market. So these are some of the of edible fruits. These edible fruits, it is being eaten by the local rural people, and they are also traded. This is which is very much saprophytes. They play a very important role in the regulation of ecosystem. They regulate the ecosystem in the sense they bring about nutrient cycling. To have a rhododendron campanulatum forest, thick forest there. Now it is almost wiped out. In 27th of May, this is Krishna Dam and Kali. These is a fragile ecosystem and they are vulnerable to landscape species. These alien invasive species are so. How can we make best use of these invasive species? These are and the Bilgiris from hills in Karnataka, the women's circle of this area, that area were suffering tremendously, and the so this Salpa Pokhri is a sacred site for Kirati community. It is revered as a dwelling place of the deity, and the lake is believed to be created by God to restore harmony. And if you go there, you often hear the sound of a gun. That is what the local folklore is. The pilgrims, they visit this divine lake of
and it has a specific grassland community in the riparian habitat. So it helps in maintaining the sediment load as well as nutritional value of the area. Although I'm not a hydrologist, someone specializing in wetland or in a riparian ecosystem, but I am currently doing work in of it. Like one part is covered by grassland, and the part towards this side which is not visible. Systems, they create these paddy fields. People prefer paddy of crossing these areas when the river flow is low. The Singalila National Park. So when I initially downloaded the map, DM, and then filled it with river networks, then something like this came up. It's like you can see the scale. It's dry stream. But when we look at the area, like most of the area is covered in streams only. So during the rainy season, all these major streams. So these are some of the important functions of a riverine system. It helps in seasonal replenish of the wetland. It also helps in maintaining. For example, we have as Sir was explaining, we have many folklores in our area. Like the most famous Chamakdungi. So this is the Chamakdungi village, but we cannot see any village right now because areas has to be connected. So for that reason, elephant corridors are very, very important. And while coming also, like you guys might have seen, lots of already gone. And these villages were inside the forest land. So these are important. Mananda Kulabari Tupiaza and Apaljan Gurwan and few of the other nearby elephant corridors. For example, all the orange portions are major corridors. And if you look closely, all these major corridors lie near a river system. For example, it is important because of the river system that is there. And even the Papanchan lands, for wetlands to be there has to be something that is replenishing the water and then taking the water down, especially for inland wetlands. So for that reason, most of the time it shifts to another part is, most of the rivers in our area, they have been used to extract sand or other building materials. And it is one of, so we have, for those development projects, we need raw materials. So the raw materials are coming from our rivers. And these rivers, elephants have been using it for hundreds of years to cross from one forest patch to the other. You might have seen the entire area was blue marking, but elephants cannot cross from the entire jungle. So there are only specific points where huge amount of people gathered especially during the holiday seasons and especially during weekends, mentioned earlier. So this is one of the major elephant crossing in the Palasan River. So this is a elephant settlements and infrastructure and linear infrastructure that have come up in the area that have greatly influenced the earlier elephant corridors. Sir has already mentioned the road and the railway network is an important aspect for another threat to the biodiversity in the area. Even if they do, they maintain it for a few days and then again after that they go to their regular.
We will have a panel from Mr. Guru. I mean, a novice like me also was quite entertained by this presentation. So,
I'm very much thankful to all the guests who, besides their busy schedule, just our panelists. We will be discussing a few points on this theme. We will be having some questions. And sir, sir, how do you define the ecological importance of wetlands in the Himalaya and sub-Himalayan context? So we have this wetland system. Sir discussed this part, you also discussed this part. How do you think how important these wetlands are in this in our place?
Land plays a very, very important role. Like, if you don't have water, you don't have life. So water becomes very, very important. And as far as wetland is concerned, the wetland, it regulates the climate, it regulates the water recharge system, the livelihood entirely depends on, especially the downstream people who are living in millions. They very much rely on the water that is coming out from the mountain region. And water becomes the life support system. Now, if you look at the water availability throughout the world, the fresh water itself constitutes about 1.4%. and out of this 1.4% fresh water, only about 0.4% of the water is available. The surface water we call it, right? Surface water that includes water from the lakes, water from the rivers, and the atmospheric water in the form of rains. So that is constituting only about 0.4% of the total water that is available in this earth. So it's ecological service, ecological implications.
Right. Ma'am, same question goes to you. So, how do you define the ecological importance of wetlands in our region, particularly this eastern Himalayan region?
First of all, thank you for the question. Although I'm not an expertise in this area, because my area is microbiology, but since water is very important for each and every one of us, and ecologically also wetland is very important because wetland it inhabits different the diversity of different organisms, including the plants, and it inhabits different kind of animals as well.
How vulnerable are small hill wetlands? Like we don't have Ramsar region like in our hills, so we have a small wetlands like pokeries, all these things. So how vulnerable they are at current situation?
Yeah, so especially in the eastern, when we talk about the eastern Himalayan region, when we talk about the eastern Himalayan region, we talk about the Himalayas, and when we talk about the Himalayas, we have the high altitude glacial system that is there. So earlier, as I showed in some of the photos, like many of the stream networks, and those stream networks also feed towards many small lakes. For example, we have lake in Chukya Pokhari. There are many such lakes near Mirik, which supports a special type of amphibian called the Himalayan newts. Not only regarding the ecological perspective, there are many other perspectives that these lakes, these small lakes, tend to support. For example, these lakes are the rechargers of streams nearby. For example, when we talk about high altitude glacial lakes, that's Sir Sod Gurudongmar is the starting point of Tista River.
Ecological knowledge contributed to the wetland conservation in this region. I mean, see, we have this tradition of, Sir rightly pointed that having sacred, ponds, like we have Pach Pokri in this place, Gurvathan, and of where Lepchas, they worship this. So how these traditional knowledge has actually, if you have any idea how they have actually helped in conserving wetlands.
Thank you, sir. Actually, sacred groups are very important if we look at the perspective of how to conserve these wetlands, because it is connected with the religious sentiment of the local ethnic people, where they worship this place, where they keep this place clean, and they do not allow other group of people to enter whenever they want. No? So in that way, these sacred groups are conserved, and when the people or the ethnic people, they do such kind of, they keep this area as a protected area, then what happens is that it is indirectly they are conserving that area for the maintaining the ecological balance of that particular area. So such areas need scientific validations. So much research has to be done. The young researchers has to find out such places, documentation to designate that particular area as a Ramsar site, so that we get funding also, and we can indulge ethnic people also to maintain that and designate that, and it will help the researchers also to complete the research in a particular area. Basically, my research is based on pollution. Now we know what is wetland and what are the measures for the conservation, but we really know what are the condition of the wetlands, because human impact is day by day increasing. Recently, there was a paper in the Bose Institute where the heavy metal pollution is day by day increasing in the eastern Himalayan region. Why? Because most of the industrial areas are being built up in the plain areas. So what happened? All this toxic fumes and from the industries, all the cadmium, lead, these are emitted from the plain areas. And during the this one rainy season moisture, they go to the cloud. It consumes cloud, collect this, and slowly it comes to the hilly area. And so what happens? The pollution is mostly in the hilly areas, in the eastern Himalayan region. So what is the condition of the wetlands? We must know. That means what is the toxicity level of that wetlands? What is the pH of that wetlands? Whether that wetlands is really really sustaining the ecologic, plant diversity or animal diversity. What is the present condition of that? So much research has to be done regarding the wetlands and its present condition also.
Right. Thanks, sir. So next question is we have this rich traditional knowledge in our system. So can it be scientifically validated, and can it be incorporated in policies?
Well, scientific validation can be done for many of the traditional knowledge, but sometimes the oral traditional knowledge you cannot validate, right? That has to be documented, and in the form of documentation, that in itself can give a guideline